Today, we're diving into a story that stands right at the crossroads of faith and history. The Islamic account of the final dramatic days of Prophet Isa, who of course many of you know as Jesus.
Okay, so let's just jump right into the deep end. The Islamic telling of this story kicks off right at the climax, but with a major twist on the crucifixion narrative. And it leaves us with a huge question. If Isa wasn't on the cross, then what in the world really happened?
So, to really get a grip on these events, we've got to rewind a bit. We need to understand the world Isa was born into. We're talking about Jerusalem, a city steeped in prophetic history. But at this point in time, it was living under the thumb of the Roman Empire. And it was not an easy time.
And this really paints a picture of the reality for the people of Bani Israel, right? I mean, on one hand, you've got this crushing weight of Roman occupation. Think foreign laws, public beatings, zero justice. But on the other hand, you have this deep, desperate prayer from the people, a cry to God for a savior, a guide, anyone to deliver them from this tyranny.
And according to this narrative, God heard those prayers. And the answer wasn't an army or a revolution. Not in the way you might think. Instead, it came in the form of two miraculous births. These were signs that something huge was about to happen, a message of hope, straight from the divine.
Yeah, these two births were seen as these incredible, powerful signs from God. First up, you have Prophet Yahya, who you might know as John the Baptist, born to his parents when they were very old. And then, of course, Prophet Isa, born to the Virgin Maryam. And get this, the account even says that Isa spoke from the cradle, declaring he was a prophet to a crowd that was, as you can imagine, completely stunned.
So, as his mission gets underway, Isa begins to perform a series of miracles, all to prove he was sent by God. The first one? It's an act of creation itself. He literally forms a bird out of simple clay, and then, by God's will, breathes life right into it.
Next, he showed a different kind of power, the power of healing, of restoration. The narrative says he was given the ability to cure those born blind, bringing sight and light back into a world of darkness for them.
And then comes what is described as his most profound miracle. He was given the ability to bring the dead back to life. I mean, can you imagine? This was meant to be the clearest sign possible of God's ultimate power over life and death.
Now, all of these incredible miracles, they weren't just for show. They all pointed to one single clear purpose. They were the proof backing up his core message, which was super simple and direct. Allah is one. Worship him alone. Just a return to pure monotheism. And while this message really connected with everyday people, well, it also started to attract the wrong kind of attention from the folks in power.
Right, so this message of hope, this call to worship God directly, for the religious and political establishment, this wasn't some abstract theological debate. No way. This was a direct threat to their power, their influence, their control over the people. So what did they do? Well, the source material, referencing the famous tafsir of Ibn Kathir, lays out this cold, calculated four-step plan. Their strategy was brilliant in a sinister way, used the power of Rome as their weapon. So they spread lies, they poisoned the Roman governor's mind against the prophets, and they got Yahya executed. And with one powerful voice of truth silenced, they turned their full attention to Isa.
Let's be super clear here. For these conspirators, this had nothing to do with religious purity or theology. It was all about politics and power. Their one goal was to get rid of this threat to their status, and their method was to cleverly manipulate the Romans into doing their dirty work for them.
Okay, so this brings us to the climax of the whole story, the final night. The conspirators are feeling pretty good about themselves. They think their plan is foolproof, that victory is just hours away. But what they have no idea about is that a much bigger, divine plan is already in motion.
So Isa gathers his closest, most loyal disciples for one last time. And in the quiet of that room, he drops a bombshell. He tells them, "Tonight one of you will betray me for a few coins." And he identifies the man as Judas.
So as Judas slips out into the darkness to get the soldiers, you can just imagine the panic erupting among the other disciples. But Isa, he's calm. He reassures them. He tells them not to be afraid because God himself would save him from his enemies.
And then it happens. The moment of divine intervention. The soldiers burst into the room, and suddenly everything just freezes. A divine light surrounds Isa, and according to the Quran, he is raised up, alive, into the heavens to God. His would-be captors are left standing there completely dumbfounded. Their target has literally vanished into thin air.
Now this event, the Ascension, is absolutely central to the Islamic account. The core belief here is that God would never allow one of his chosen prophets to be defeated and humiliated like that. And this, of course, leads us to the final, massive mystery. If Isa was taken up to the heavens, then who was on the cross?
So, who was it? Well, Islamic tradition has a couple of common explanations. One theory is that the betrayer, Judas, was miraculously made to look exactly like Isa, and he was the one captured and crucified. Another account suggests that a loyal disciple actually volunteered to take his place. But what's interesting is that the Quran itself doesn't name anyone specific. It just says that Isa wasn't killed or crucified, but that it was made to appear so to them. The reality was clouded.
So you see, in the end, this account isn't just about what happened, but why it happened. It's meant to be this timeless lesson for everyone. The idea is that the struggle between truth and lies is eternal, that human plots and conspiracies, no matter how clever, are nothing compared to God's ultimate plan. And, maybe most importantly, that even though following the path of truth can be incredibly hard, the final victory always belongs to God.
And all of this really leaves us with one final big question to think about, a question this whole story is built around. When worldly power clashes with divine truth, what ultimately wins?